Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Coffee and Video Games. So for today's episode, earlier today, while browsing Craigslist, I ran into this post that said free computer parts or something along those lines. I'll leave a screenshot of it here. But it was basically a case, motherboard, CPU, it looks like also RAM, and power supply for free on Craigslist. So caught my attention. I messaged the guy that had it up for free and told him I could be there in about 30 minutes. He said nobody had messaged them, so I went and picked it up. Basically what we're trying to figure out is to see if this works or if it doesn't. If it does, can it game, or can we get it to game? And if it doesn't work, can we fix it? So we'll take you guys along for the ride. I'm actually on my way back home from picking up the computer or computer parts. So if it sounds a little funky, it's because I'm driving. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started with this. So here's the computer now that we're at home. The first thing I noticed is the back panel and the front panel are switched around. It looks like the front panel is on the back one is on the front. The first thing we're going to do is give it a quick wipe with alcohol wipes because, well, I don't know where it came from and coronavirus is a thing, so we want to be safe. So let's give it a quick wipe and then open it up so we can find out what exactly is inside of it. We want to check the motherboard, CPU, and all that good stuff. So here's our computer. We've given it a quick wipe. Now let's take the back panel, that's actually the front panel, off and get a closer look inside. Alright, so looks like we have a MSI motherboard, N1996. Definitely quite a bit of dust. So it's definitely an older computer. I have no idea what this power supply is. LSV Ultra, 450 watts. So we'll do a little more research on that. I don't even know what socket this motherboard is. I'm assuming it's some sort of AM2 socket, judging by the mount of this thermal take heatsink. So let's do a little bit of research. Let's look up the name of this online. I misspoke earlier. There's no RAM, as you can see, but we still have a little base where we can get something started. I was also very curious about what CPU we actually have here because I have no idea. So I'm gonna take the fan off, or the heat sink, or try to anyway, and hopefully we'll be able to see what we're working with. So I can't really read it from here. Definitely says FX. If you can't tell by now, I don't really know a whole lot about older computer hardware, but luckily our friend Google does. So let's Google it and find out exactly what CPU we're working with, because it might be worthwhile seeing if we can also get an upgrade for that. And we're definitely going to upgrade the PSU as well. As I said, I've never heard of this brand before, and I'm not too comfortable using brands that I don't know in power supplies, because as we all know, if the power supply fails, well, it has the potential to kill the rest of our computer. So let's go look up the CPU and try to get educated a little bit. Upon closer inspection of the motherboard, I found the actual model is 760GM-P34FX. Did a quick Google search and found it's actually an AM3 Plus socket. Supports DDR3 memory. So things are looking better than I expected. So what we're gonna try to do is get some good RAM first off, see if we can get a cheap graphics card on the local, be it OfferUp or Craigslist, and also look for deals for an SSD, maybe a better cooler, um, maybe a better case as well, because this is definitely dated. Um, and yeah, let's see what we can find online. Back about a week and a half later, we've gathered a few computer parts. Um, it's been $179, which we're gonna install into this here case that I managed to snag. Just to go over the pricing really quick, and the parts themselves. We snagged a GTX 970, which is still a pretty good performer. I believe Steve from Gamers Nexus recently re-reviewed its use in 2021. We got two sticks of Corsair Vengeance DDR3. Each one is 4 gigabytes, so a total of 8 gigabytes. I was aiming for 16, which is the sweet spot in 2022. But that didn't work out. Well, it would have if the motherboard had 4 slots, but it only has 2. So in reality, what I got was a 16 gigabyte kit for $20. But since we can only use 2, I sold the other 2, recouping $15 back from the original purchase. We got a wireless adapter to be able to use Wi-Fi. I know ideally, especially for gaming, it's better to have a wired connection. But I am currently not close to the modem, so for now that's gonna have to do. This was only $5 in a local store. We managed to get a Samsung Evo 860 is the model, I believe, 500 gigabyte SSD. And through the EVGA Midweek Madness, we got a power supply, which ran us about, it's a 500-watt power supply, which ran us about $34 after tax. And it actually came with this power link. I'm assuming EVGA is just giving them away at this point because nobody really used them. And they might be trying to get rid of them. It does not fit our graphics card because the power pins are somewhere on this side, so it doesn't reach. But it's there. I guess we can resell it online or something. And for the case, we managed to get this. It's for $15. It's a Cyber Power Cooler Master case of some sort. I'm assuming it's like a special edition Cooler Master manufacturers, like a modded version of the Master Box, specifically for Cyber Power. So our next step now is to bring the motherboard and the CPU from the old computer into this new case, install the parts, put them all together, and since this is not a tutorial, I'm going to pause right here and put all of our parts into this here case. Hopefully everything works, and yeah, I'll be right back. And we are back with what now actually resembles a working computer. We have our GPU installed, motherboard has been transferred, RAM's installed, SSD is installed. It's slowly looking a little bit better. Now it's the moment of the truth. I haven't tried to boot it just yet. Let's see if it actually turns on or if I just wasted $180 out of my pocket. Alright, so we got our monitor plugged in, keyboard and mouse plugged in. Let's hit the power button and see what happens. Okay, all the fans are spinning. Oh, we got a beep and some lights. So the keyboard just lit up and the mouse. But no display. As you guys can see here, fans are spinning. Even the GPU fan is spinning. But we've got no display. That's a bummer. Let's do a little bit of troubleshooting off camera, and hopefully I can figure out what's going on. Alright guys, and we are back with our computer. I went through a little bit of basic troubleshooting, reseated the RAM, cleared the CMOS, um, took the, tried starting it with only one stick of RAM, didn't work, tried it with the different one. I actually wiped the RAM slots because they were pretty dusty. Same with the GPU. I took the GPU out, wiped the PCIe slot with some cotton swabs because it was also pretty dusty. And I don't know what did it, but something did it. Just remember to try your basic troubleshooting before giving up hope. So it looks like we're actually in. Powered it on, and let's do it all together once again. Okay. Oh, might work if I actually power on the power supply. There's our power button. Everything's spinning. Everything's running. The monitor plugged in. Boom. That is a boot. So we're back in business. Our $180 didn't go to waste. But now the question is, what can we do with an $180 machine in 2022? So I'm gonna go ahead and install Windows and install some games, get some stuff running. Right now it's just saying no bootable device because there's no Windows installed or anything. But at least we got a boot. We're in. So yeah, let's install Windows, get into it, and that's it for the machine. Actually, that is not it for the machine. So we here at Coffee and Video Games are RBG advocates. So I decided to purchase a few extra things to make our computer look a little less flat and more gamery. We found this guy for $10 in OfferUp. It's just your standard AMD Wraith Spire, which is the RGB one. So we're gonna be throwing this guy in there as well. And then on Amazon we got a kit of 3 fans for $15. So with an extra $25, we're gonna make this look more gamery than what it currently looks like. Also, if you've gotten this far into the video, you probably noticed that the GPU is pretty dusty. I hadn't taken it apart to clean it because I wanted to make sure it worked, and I did not feel like taking apart my personal rig, which is over there, to test it out. So after we get our benchmarks and do all that good stuff, we're also going to be taking the GPU apart to clean it up. But yeah, let's install Windows, install some fans, and upgrade that ugly looking CPU cooler to a more gamery RGB one. Alright, so just a small little update. We got our Windows installed, we got our new CPU cooler, and the 3 fans. And this is basically what's going to be the final look of our computer. And again, switch on power supply. And bam, RGB puke everywhere. These fans are actually pretty nice, they're pretty bright. The colors are pretty vibrant. The only downside to them, I would say, is the fact that they use Molex, which is kind of a bummer. But other than that, they look really nice, and they're in par with our CPU cooler. So basically our last step is to get some games installed and try to do some gaming, see what we get. Alright, so kicking things off, I kind of wanted to start with a age-appropriate game. So Assassin's Creed Unity seemed like a good fit. It's one that I would have played if I had built this system for around the time that this hardware came out. With medium settings at 1440p because I don't have a 1080p monitor, we're getting a pretty solid 30 frames per second moving around Paris. Even here in a pretty populated area, um, the dips rarely went under 30 FPS. If we want more FPS, we can definitely lower the quality. We can also try switching down to 1080p, but um, I don't imagine that's going to change the FPS much, not enough to make up for the 1440p versus a 1080p. So pretty good deal here with Assassin's Creed Unity. Switching over to another age-appropriate game, here we have The Witcher 3, where we're actually doing a little bit better, but we're getting plenty of stutters for some odd reason. But we're hitting that 60 FPS target with medium settings. I switched between 1080p and 1440p, and honestly, it didn't really make a difference. The FPS pretty much stayed at close to that 60 FPS with the medium settings. Again, we can lower the quality if we want to see more FPS. If we're okay with anywhere between 30 to 60, then we can definitely go up to high, and we'll definitely fare quite well with The Witcher 3 as well. It's an older game, but it's still pretty demanding, so I'm glad our little almost $200 or $200 computer can run it. It's definitely a plus. Alright, so now we're ramping things down a little bit, switching to a much less demanding game, CSGO. I switched, or I have it set up, it defaulted to highest settings on 1440p, but since it is a very low demanding game, I'm assuming we're going to be just fine. Definitely at least past the 60 FPS goal, but we'll see. Let's let it load and see what we get. Let's be bad guys. Alright. So right off the bat, we're at around 70 FPS. Ooh, so we're not doing too good. We're switching down to 40 FPS. Now we're back up to 60. It looks like the FPS is all over the place. Again, it is 1440p. I'm assuming if we lower the settings maybe to medium or so, we should be just fine. Still doesn't look bad. Uh-oh. And we got owned by a bot. So, definitely playable. Just not quite hitting the FPS we wanted, but we can definitely tweak the settings. I mean, it runs, and that's what matters. Alright, and we're down to our last benchmark, which is going to be Fortnite. Admittedly, I've never really been into Fortnite, so don't judge me too harshly while messing around in it. Actually, I must admit this is my second run. The first run, I aimed a little high. By that I mean I left Fortnite pick the settings, the visual settings automatically. It defaulted for high, so I figured I would try it out. And while it was definitely playable, we were constantly at around 30 to 40 FPS. So this time I went ahead and switched the settings down to medium, and we'll see how we do now with medium settings instead of high. Right now it's reporting 119 FPS, but as we actually start, it's definitely gonna go down. Here the limiting factor is definitely the CPU. I don't intend to keep this computer. This was more of a side project, messing around, to try to see what we could come up with on a budget in 2022. Oh, we're getting horrible FPS here. Oh, there we go. Stabilized a little more. It looks like we're around 40, 50, then it stutters. We'll see how it actually does in gameplay. But anyway, if I was to keep this computer, the first thing I would do is upgrade the CPU. Since its release up to today is still regarded as one of the not so great CPUs out there. So that would definitely be my main fix. I have seen some FX 6200 and 6300 CPUs go for about $20 to $30 on eBay. So I would definitely aim for something like that. In the meantime, again, if I was going to keep this with a budget in mind, or with a small budget in mind, for the future, I would definitely upgrade. Maybe switch the motherboard out, get something like a B350 or a B450, and maybe get like a Ryzen 3 3200 or something like even a Ryzen 5 1600 AF, which is basically the same as a 2600, just goes by a lot cheaper. But that's just if I was planning to keep this computer, which again I am not. We just wanted to see what we could do. But here we are in game now. Anywhere between 50 to 60 FPS. Again, I am playing in 1440p. So if we switched out maybe the monitor, brought it down to a 1080p, frame rates would definitely be much better. But this is what we have for now. Honestly, there's no real point to this video other than a project. It touches on a few different subjects. Can you still game on a budget or do PC gaming on a budget in 2022? The answer is definitely yes. Just keep an eye out on your local markets, Facebook Marketplace, Mercari, eBay. Oh, we're getting attacked. And shop around. Also, don't be afraid to throw offers at people. Obviously, don't try to lowball them. Be reasonable. And consider, people are also trying to get their monies. Nobody's trying to get ripped off. So don't try, lowballing people. Just be conscious, throw reasonable offers, and be willing to drive, especially if you live in a big city. I do live in a big city, and for some of the parts I did have to drive, 30, 40 minutes, but it was worth it because now we have a okay gaming computer, or something that would definitely get us by if we were just, if we didn't have anything else and we wanted to do some gaming. I would definitely prefer spending, $200 in this and spend $200 in a PS4, because with this we can get similar results to what we would on a PS4, and it's a computer. You can do more things than what you could with a console. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay posted for whatever comes next.